Greetings, welcome to day 14 of Project Dig. Dang, it's already been 2 weeks. Time flies. We've made a lot of progress so far, but yeah, it's crazy how fast that goes. Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. I am starting kind of late, but that's okay. Hey, Cooler, how are you doing? Yeah, I woke up at 6 o'clock. Couldn't go back to sleep, but I was like super tired. I think just lots of physical exertion and not quite enough sleep. So I took a nap, and then I had an alarm set. I woke up and I was like, you know what? I need more sleep. So I went back to sleep, which is why we're starting late. But hopefully that translates into me making less mistakes on stream, because yesterday was pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Coffee. Okay, so yes, Project Dig. Let's do a quick recap, very quick, and then we can talk about what we're going to work on. So the last few days we were working on a scheduler which is used for our game systems, and it will pretty much right now just run them, not do too complex of information. So it's mostly just a list of systems and how they need to be, and when they are ran, and I allow a frequency to be set with the system, so you can say, oh, run every 5 seconds or whatever, if you don't need it to be running every single update. And we got that working, and then we went over to a spatial hash, which is for spatial partitioning. We have a lot of entities in our world, and whenever we want to query for a particular area to get the entities in that area or nearby a certain point or whatever, it's very helpful to do spatial partitioning, so we can figure out exactly which entities are nearby that we need to be checking, rather than checking all the ones in the world. So we got that working. It's a pretty cool system where, and I can show you, we also wrote some tests for it, and that's what we were struggling with, or I should say I was struggling with yesterday, where you can set up a world and then initialize the spatial hash, and whenever you populate it, it can be populated with different components. And so you can say, hey, I want all the entities in the world to be partitioned that have a render and a physics component. And the hash will only, store those. And so that way, if we're, let's say that we're doing physics collision, we only care about the entities that are going to be colliding. We don't need to worry about the particles or items that just don't have collision whatsoever. And so that's pretty cool. Then you can do queries on it. So you could query the body of the entity you are checking collision for, something along those lines. And so yeah, it seems to be working. Our tests are passing after kind of brute force writing those. And so that brings us to what we are working on today, which is, and I totally forgot to update Nightbot. Should do that. Today, we're working towards a physics system. Finally, a Ludum Dare stream. Oh man, I was thinking about doing LD, but I just did not have the energy. It seems like a cool little system. I mean, theme though. Your health. I was actually thinking about that. I think it says your health is a currency, or your life is currency. I was thinking that kind of actually fits. That's the thing about the LD themes is oftentimes you can kind of bend it a little bit and apply it to almost any game. But one of the like features in projectDIG is that you can hook yourself up to power devices, and then it'll just consume your power to run these different machines. And it's an interesting idea. I think you could take it further and make an entire game out of that. Maybe, I don't know, like an LD game. Too busy with game devs. Yes. Always. That's been my excuse, like, always. But I also, like, I was thinking that maybe next time we have an LD, which would be in October, I could do one. Or something. I don't know. There's some ideas. Like, another thing I was thinking is maybe eventually we could get the game engine, the projectDIG game engine far enough along, and if I open source it, maybe we could do our own game jam using the system. Say like, hey everyone. I don't know, that might be a little restrictive, like not that many people would be able to use it. You would have to know C++. And I would have to, of course, have the open sourced engine for a while before, just to give people time to work with it. But hey, Ernmuse, I'm using Notion. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so what I want to work towards, so coming back to projectDIG, I want to work towards getting a physics system actually set up. Like a real physics system that, well, not a real one, like something, I don't know, like a primitive physics engine, I guess you could say. Something kind of like Korea, maybe a little bit more complex than Korea. Korea only supported rectangles with some weird form of friction, I think. Not quite friction, but something kind of like that. Restitution. And then like collision, and that's kind of it. And so I'd like to add some more complexity to this game engine's physics, but not too much. Like maybe I want to support I would like to support slopes better, maybe. I don't know what I want to do with slopes, honestly. That's actually a really good question. I don't know. Is the game going to be 2D or 3D? Hey, Steve Void, what's up, man? It is going to be 2D. This whole time I imagined top-down. Oh, well, that's actually not how it's going to be. Yeah, it's a side view. So think Factorio meets Terraria. And for the physics system, I think it's actually going to be quite important because I want to support having items be like tossed around and bouncing off of things, and so like restitution and maybe like platforms, stuff like that. Automation and side view sounds interesting. Yeah, I made a prototype for it. I think it worked out fairly well. Oh, that coffee tastes good. It's so yeah, projectDIG is, like I said, a 2D multiplayer automation survival sandbox game where you play as a robot that has been stranded on this planet. I won't go into too much detail right now about that shortcut. And you were not made to stay on this planet for a long time, and so your components start to break down, and you're having to replace yourself. And in order to do that, you need to kind of like harvest, collect the resources of this planet to build new parts. And so you're kind of building this supply line of resources, trying to get them to you using like physics, conveyor belts, item cannons, stuff like that. And then having a factory where you are actually converting those resources into more readily usable materials. And eventually the final product that you'll be using for like yourself. And yeah, so you're a robot, so it means that you're having to worry about things like power, and you can do things such as use your power to power devices like conveyor belts or item cannons, whatever, as well as researching, which is kind of this like distributed computing between the players to research a specific technology that will unlock new recipes, or like crafting recipes, technologies, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It should be fun. So we're developing the game in a custom C++ engine. You can figure out more, or you can see more if you go to the dig.siegegames.com, and it has like all the libs here, and there's some other stuff. I still need to fill this stuff out. I haven't done that for a while. I should do that. I shouldn't start. I'm kind of starting to have more time, so I will actually spend time to do that, kind of. From that explanation, I think it's very cool. Awesome. I hope it will be. I think it will be. The prototype, I think the prototype was okay. I didn't get a ton of response from it, but it's hard to get a response from people. But I think that I'm sold on at least the very core of the game, which is the automation and side view with physics. That, I think, is a very solid foundation to try to build a game off of. And so I'm working towards that right now, and then I'd like to kind of play around with other stuff and figure out what we actually want this game to be. I'm kind of split between these two very different ideas on the direction we can take it. One direction is kind of what I was originally thinking, which is a more like higher resolution, illustrated art, kind of think oxygen not included type of thing, or something along those lines. And having simulation and like environmental simulation stuff such as temperature and gases and just lots of like complexity. Or the other direction, which is just kind of more of a like simple 2D sandbox game with like automation, and it's kind of it like doesn't take itself serious at all. So much more like lighthearted, simpler systems and everything. So it's like two very different systems, like kind of a more like simulated environment with a lot of complexity, or this like simpler game. Yeah, I don't know what would be better. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Which is why I want to just get to the point where I can kind of play around with those systems a little bit more and see what's enjoyable. Okay, so let's work towards some physics system. I think I already started. I guess I didn't make a physics system. Okay, so we'll start with adding in a new system here. We'll call it physics. Oh, I probably did not put that in the right spot. Do you use Visual Studio auto formatting? Yeah, I use it for some things. I'm sure I did not put that right. Hold on, let me move that into system. Okay. So systems are going to be really basic. I think I added one in already. Oh. That is it. Oh, whoops. Hold up. Then I must have created a physics .h in here. No, I don't know where I put the other physics file. Okay. Let's move. I created a new filter. We'll call it system. Because I don't have anything in there right now. I'm going to move it. No. Don't do it. Oops. Misclicking all over the place. Okay. We did it. I hate this thing formatting my code. Well, you can change the preferences so it can format it to the way you like. Hey, Sudi. What's up? Sudeep. Coffee. Okay, so how our systems work is that it's actually really simple. We have our, right now it's this game. This will change in the future. I need to change this to include system physics. So we have our scheduler that contains a list of systems. Our systems are actually just a set of functions that are associated with one another. So if we go to our physics system, you'll see it's actually just a namespace that has a schedule, initialize, shutdown, and update. And all that will do is whenever we add it to our scheduler, it will do exactly that. I'll just add this. Let's go here to our systems, which is a system that contains all of those different functions, and also timer and the name. And then whenever we are updating it, we just iterate through the systems, and if it should be updated, then we call update on the system. It's really basic. So what I want to do, we have something in here. Oh, that's right. I've totally forgot that we did this. We have our physics system that has these items bouncing around. I completely forgot that we did this. Whoops. I meant to set this as the start. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, this needs to be in system physics.h. So we already have this running our physics system, although it's not really anything related to physics. All it just does is have these items bounce around in the world. Yeah, so they'll bounce off of the bottom. It just every single frame it's drawing a new, or it's creating a new pudding. We can have our doors. We're in debug mode, so that frame rate slows down really bad with that many entities. So let's go back to our smaller resolution. Which I have in way too many places. Render system. Here we go. So I'm just doing 800 by 600 for now. I knew I was forgetting one. Okay. Just search for 1920. Nope. Okay, we got them all. So where you live, you don't have walls around houses? Wait, what? Yeah. I have a, well, oh, you're talking about that flood? It's probably talking about this. Yeah, it flooded here not too long ago. Dang. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Our backyards have fences, but not the front. For security. I see. Yeah, not here. This is a nice friendly neighborhood. Like, everyone is kind of younger with kids. Younger, like, you know, young parents. Early 30s or mid 30s, around 30 to 40 with kids. How hard is it to learn C++ nowadays? It depends on your experience with programming, and I don't know, it's a lot of things. It's doable. You can, I think it's this, right? Yeah. You can check out isocpp.org FAQ. That's like a decent resource to start with. I recommend, of course, as you get deeper to really branch out and try to read as many resources as possible. But you can get the basics going without too much effort. But there is a lot to learn. Okay, so let's change this physics system some. What should we do? What I'm thinking we could do, go back to our game. Let's remove that scaling thing. And we can also make it so it's not creating a new entity every single frame. Where's that happening? Oh, it's right here. So I'd have to keep track of that. Yeah, I don't know if... Maybe I will get rid of that as well. So... can we do here? What I'm kind of thinking is that it'd be nice to have it so that JSON codes, by the way, are very readable. Is it? I hope so. Okay, so we have that, and then we have our doors. So what I'm thinking we can do is make it so that the puddings will bounce off of the doors. So what we'll do is we'll start with the most basic solution, and then we can add on to it or like change it. So the most basic solution is where the doors have physics as well, but no velocity. And so this isn't really physics. This is kind of just making these things have some, it's like adding in some concept of collision. Can you show me where I can change the background color to black like yours? The color theme? You can go to, is it customize or options? No, it must be in options. Yeah, I think fonts and colors, here we go. So it's in, environment, fonts, and colors, but if you want exactly what I have or something very close, there's an import and export settings that's under tools, and you can use I think it's down here. Yes, you can import that. So with your systems being a value and some function pointers, any particular reason why you don't use virtual functions here? I don't have, they're not even a class. So you have to think about like, typically whenever you're writing code, you want to keep things as simple as possible and really think about like what's the best way to prevent you from, like shooting yourself in your own foot. And for our systems, we decided we want them to be stateless. We don't want any data to be stored within them. So that way, while we're designing stuff, we don't have to even consider the state of the system while it's running. And then on top of that, we don't want systems to be able to get access to other systems. So that way we don't have to consider like, well, maybe this other system might be trying to get access to us, especially if you're talking about like multi-threading. Maybe this other system's trying to get access to us and doing something, like setting some value and we don't know. And so, now we might need to worry about putting a lock in here. Even if we're not worried about multi-threading, we still don't know, like something may eventually, like some other system might change our state in some expected way and we're not even considering that. So we're just like, we don't want our systems to have any state. So stateless systems, and we don't want them to be accessible outside of it. So they're isolated. So we want isolated stateless systems. And the best way to do that is to just not even have a class associated with the functions that are being called. Just have them be functions by themselves. And that way, we can't have state whatsoever. And suddenly there is nothing to access to touch us or do, call any of our functions or anything like that. And so there's no need for a system. Virtual functions are only useful if you're like, you're deriving from some base class and you want to make sure that we have this specific interface or whatever. But we can just avoid that. We don't even want to instantiate the class. We just want to have these functions. And so like at first I was thinking it could be virtual, and then we're like, no, let's not do that. Let's make them be static, so that way we can't store state. And then it's like, well, what's the point of having a class with just static functions with no state in it? Because we could still technically kind of have state in it. Or we might think that we can or something. So just like not even allow that. So just make it be a namespace. That's why. So our scheduler just is past the functions, and that's it. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're probably going to want to change this in the future. But for now, what I'm thinking we will do is add in a... Yeah, I'm almost positive we want to change this. I don't know how. For now, so this is kind of from what I have read. Something you don't want to do is have bools. I'm not sure how we want to set it up, but we definitely don't want to do it like this with the collision. But we'll just do this. Are these structs with inheritance? Yes. With all it is making it so we can set up the ID for them nicely. AKA functional programming. Exactly. So we'll just say, hey, does this have collision or not? In the future, we might want to make a collision component, considering that. I'm not sure what data we want to have on that. Physics is probably going to be the most complex system. So let's see here. We're going to... we can keep this. I think we can keep this. Query, iterate through all the transforms. What if we said that the world, instead of doing this stuff, let's do this. What if, instead of this, what if we just said that there was collision on the sides as well, so we could treat it as the same. That's probably a good thing to do. Maybe. What we want to do is actually set up a spatial hash here. Pass in, wait. Initialize. Oh yeah, that's right. World size and cell size. So vec2 world size. That's right. It's going to be 800, 600. And let's say the cell size is 100. We'll populate it, and we'll say we want physics components. And this is where we need to do collision on things. So it's like maybe in the future we want to say we want physics and collision. Hey MindRage, what's up? World.query returns container in the range for loop. It returns, so query returns a query that is iterable. It has a begins and size. And so we can iterate over it using, and we're doing structured binding here. Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. How about you, MindRage? What's up? Okay, so we can populate this hash with everything. And then what we can do is... as we're moving... we might, so this is one thing I'm not sure about yet. Is maybe for now what we'll want to do is check the collision. So we can do hash query for the transform position. Or that's actually something I should go change this before we get any deeper here. Are you working on this with other people? Because you keep saying we. We are here, therefore we. I'm talking about us. This is a community project. I think of you guys as being part of it. I completely forgot. I should have really committed this stuff. So let's do that. Yeah, there's a lot in here actually. I kind of forgot to commit stuff. Ugh. Oh man, I forgot to commit a lot of stuff. Rip. Well, I guess it's going to be a lot of work to try to reconcile that, so I'm not going to even attempt. I'm just going to commit this as is. So this sucks. I completely forgot about committing for the last few days. Need to be more on top of that. So what we did here is we added in. Did we add in the scheduler as well? Yes. Man, it's been like 4 days since we committed. Scheduler, system scheduler. Whoops. Spatial hash and fun. It's warm in here, especially drinking this coffee. Okay, so that stinks, but oh well. So what we want to do is now add in, I think I want to change position to actually be a bounds. So everywhere that we use position, which is definitely more than just that. How can it not be finding? Okay, that's more, that's good. We want to rename it to bounds. And this should be a rect, which means that we need to say it is larger. Maybe it defaults to 0011. So it doesn't have, actually, I take that back. It will default to 0. Across the board, as meaning it's invalid. I know we use this in other places. I don't know why I didn't find them. So we could say transform dot. So this I'm not sure about. I guess that we probably just want to be like that. That's for rendering it. Let's just see what else fails to compile. I'm sure there are more. I think in game there's some. I guess it renamed that. There we go. Bounds. Guess that's one thing that sucks about the renamer is that it can't find some of this stuff. Like, I guess it's particularly with auto, is not being able to determine that this is a transform component. So the reason we wanted to do this bounds is because we really need bounds for some other stuff. So what I'm going to do, in a lot of places we don't care about the bounds, but here we do. Inside a game we need to set it up so the transform component bounds dot width is 24 and the height is 24 as well. Maybe I'll do it in one line. We'll just do this. And then we'll do the same down here with the door. They're both 24, 24. Yeah, are there other places that I use this 24 number? That's not it. We don't care about that. Maybe that's it. Like technically this should be minus the bounds. Transform dot. Stop. That's not a pointer. Why are you thinking it's a pointer? Width. And height. Okay. And now what we want to do is say, do a query on the transformed bounds. For auto, and this is entity and bounds here. I guess what we could do, yeah, actually we could do this. This is kind of cool. We can do query cold, and this will cull it to be exactly what this is colliding with. Check the VA settings for the auto change. Yeah, normally it's smarter about it. It's getting confused, I think, because of the auto here. I think it's in here. I don't know where it's at, actually. Yeah, I don't know where it's at. Extensions tab. Yeah, but where in here? It's not those. No, I think it would be in here. Top of the main window. Wait, what? I looked. Oh, in here? Oh, VA settings. Sorry. I missed the VA part. Yeah, I like this feature. I like this feature. I don't know if I want to disable it. It's just, I think it's because of this thing, the auto, it gets confused. I think VA honestly is having problems with some of these new features. Like auto, like it just can't figure out what this should be. So query cold will only give us entities that are actually touching this other entity, which is cool. Which means that we can do something like this. Maybe what we want to do is say, Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to change it already. I think what I want to do is make it so that go into, so we have physics component. We actually don't care about that. Let's not care about the physics component for this. What we're going to do is care about component. We're going to add a new component in. We're going to get rid of collision and add in collision component. Oh, I totally forgot I moved it. That's right. I want to move it back. So we have a collision. We're going to get rid of all of this. Maybe what we would want to do is have like a... Yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll say... Right now, I guess we'll just put in here enum class collision direction, which can be a uint8t as well. And we're going to make it so that we can... Oh, do I want to do it like that? Maybe. We'll do top... top right, bottom left, and we're going to have it be corresponding to bits. This is what I did. Whoops. For Korea, sides would be right or left. I don't know if this will let me do that. Will it? It does. And then, what's the other? Do I just have sides? I don't know. Maybe I'll just do all. And so then we can have a... I wonder if this, how well this works. Because we probably... so I'm not... I haven't worked with the... yeah, it might be that we don't want to use an enum class for this. I haven't worked with the enum classes very much. Basically, this is a... like a bit enum. I forget what it's called. Is that what it's called? Bit class enum with bits, bit mask. Maybe I should write it like that. Let's actually do that. I like that more. It makes it much more readable, right? If you do this, I think so. Maybe it doesn't make a difference there. It does. It makes a difference when you have more than just those. If you want to add in a lot of bit. That seems really complicated for like something so basic. I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, technically this doesn't work either. Maybe for now, I'll come back to it later. I don't really want to spend too much time with that. So we'll just say where it has collision, the directions. We might want to be able to specify more information on this, which would make it be more complicated. Like, let's say that we want the bounds to be different from the transform. I don't know if we actually want to do that. I don't think so. But if we did, like if we wanted to support more complicated physics where we have like the physics component is made up of multiple like bounding areas, then we would, you know, maybe we'd have like a vector of rex, which would be the bounds, like multiple bounds. Maybe, but then again, like what if we want to support circles? Then that doesn't work, so I don't know. We'll have to think about that. For now, we'll just start with the simplest solution, which is this, and we'll say that its collision direction is all. So it collides with everything. Fine, we'll just do this for now. We'll just make it be a basic enum. Do what we're used to. Okay, so with that, we can then say, let's populate this with everything that has a collision component. We actually don't care about anything that doesn't have a collision component. So that's going to make this be much faster. And then what we can do with this is something kind of like this, where we say, probably the easiest, to check to see which direction we are hitting it from. We can see that's the best way. Maybe we have to do that more complicated. What I'm wanting to do is flip the velocity depending on the direction we are hitting it from. With squares, technically, we can just check one thing, which is, right? Oh, kind of. What would be the best? I mean, technically we can hit the corner. Thinking about this. Really, the best way to do it, I think, is to store the bounds. Original bounds, and then say if the original bounds x is greater than the bounds.x, then that means that it hit off of wait, no, I'm not doing this right. Why am I struggling with this? I'm trying to... We need to figure out which side it's touching. I'm gonna open up Curium. I know I do that in there. This shouldn't be that hard though. Can we just look at the overlap? Maybe that's the best way. That's probably a better way. Maybe. It's warm in here. Yeah, we resolve first the x and then the y. We get the delta. Get the delta between the body and the previous. So it figures out which direction it's moving. That's right. That's right. That makes a lot of sense. The delta is going to help out a lot. We should be thinking about that. Because if it's moving to the left, then that means it can only possibly hit the left side. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we'll do it like that. We'll say if the... We'll get the delta. Alright, I guess we have to do it down here. Int vect2 delta is... Let's actually do it that way. Okay, so now we have the delta. So let's just say delta.x is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, then that means we only need to check. So that greater than 0 means that it's moving to the right. So we only need to look to see if this thing is hitting the left side. Which means that if the entity, well, we know, yeah, so we know it will hit it if the entity, or sorry, transform bounds dot x plus transform. Okay, that is pretty annoying. I don't know why it first thinks it's a function and then it thinks it's a pointer. Why? I saw there's an update for VA. Maybe I need to get that. So if it's greater than 0 and the transform bounds x plus y, so that means the right side is greater than the, I guess I could say greater than or equal to, right? If it's greater than or equal to the bounds dot x, then that means we've hit the left side of this thing that has collision. Hey Whitmog, what's up? Hey Rambo. What game engine? It's my own. Actually, I'm using different stuff this time around. Is my internet dropping frames? It is. It's mine. Yeah, I've dropped about 1% of my frames. That sucks. Sorry, guys. Not sure why that is. So yeah, I'm actually doing new stuff this time around. New game engine. Yeah, I should add in, we're using also BGFX. There, you can check this link out. It has a list of all the libraries that I'm planning on using. Oh, I changed this. Let's go to BGFX. I decided against that one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I think that should be good. Oh, I meant to do it like that. Well, that works. So we hit the right side. That means that we want to, we actually should, we can flip it. I guess what we could do is this. Or the delta is less than 0. In this case, I'll probably put that like this, so it's more readable. Is less than 0, and the transform bounds dot x is less than. This is where we flip this. Oh wait, greater than. We would say less than, right? The bounds dot width. So what this is saying is that we're moving to the left, and we want to see if our x position hits the right side of this entity that has collision. And if we do, then we want to bounce the other way. Why are you switching from SFML to SDL? Because of a bunch of reasons I've gotten over in the past. Quick summary is that I wanted to use something that was a little bit more commonly used for commercial games, and I wanted to support more rendering backends beyond just OpenGL. And also I was kind of wanting to move away from the object-oriented approach and do more data-oriented and functional programming. And that's why. Have I ever used an off-the-shelf game engine? Yeah, I've used Unity for a game. This game here. Nope, that's not it. Pictures, hexachain. I made this game in Unity. It's called Hexachain. Yeah, it's just a little like Zen puzzle game where you move things around, these little hexagons around, trying to connect them up, and then get the largest chain possible and explode it. And that's unreleased. Okay, so that's good. We want this, and then we can do the same with the Y. The Y. Oh, whoops, that needs to be height. Okay, cool. So I think that's it. What else do we need to do? We need to go into the game and say for the door, let's actually remove the... oh, we don't have a physics component. Okay. Well, that makes sense. We have a render component. So let's add in a physics component. Yeah. Collision component is what we want. Prefab component. Collision.type is collision component ID. Collision.data. Oh, I need to add in collision here. That's right. Actually, I guess we don't need to do anything with that, huh? Right now we'll just say it has collision with everything. Maybe later we want to change that. And then lastly, we need to add it, push it back. So say door prefab components, push back, collision. So let's go over to our prefab component. I need to add in collision to it. And what else? I think I need to go into our world. Yeah, right now we have to manually do this. I want to change it so we don't. Collision component. Be nice to not have to do this for all of these. Okay, so that, I think that's it. Let's try it out. I'm sure we're missing something. We'll figure out what that is soon. Well, yes, that's right. Spatial hash. That's right. We have the bounds that I was doing this with. Now we can change this to be transform.bounds. Because I hard-coded that 24 in there. I searched for it. I don't know why it didn't show up. Maybe I only searched within that one file. No! Bounds. Oh, whoops. Component pool, struct, count, query with entity. Where are we doing that? That's in physics component. right? Or the physics system. Spatial hash. Query with entity. Physics.object. Oh, is the spatial hash using physics? Ah, yeah. So I need to add into here query.h. Anywhere that we use the spatial hash, we are using that query. Okay. Whoops, not world component, component pool. Yeah, I totally forgot to do this in many places, right? A component should actually not be necessary. Component pool. That is though. Why can't we for declare that? Oh, it's because it's templated. Okay, I need to include component pool.hpp. Yeah. We missed several things. Hey J-Cummins, how are you doing? I think I have some weird like circular dependency thing going on here with these includes. I need to look at this more. I think this will fix it, but I think we need to dig into what's going on with that. Doing pretty good. How about yourself? I'm good. Kind of warm though. I think with my door closed, there's like no circulation in here, and so it just heats up like crazy. Okay, let's oh, you see that? But it seems to just be bouncing that one way. It should bounce some other way, right? Like, that's definitely wrong. I like your new profile picture on Twitter. Oh, thanks. My wife doesn't. Sounds uncomfortable. Yeah, I might have to open up the door or something. I keep it closed typically because I don't want Kaylee coming in here, but it's cause you're checking deltas independently. Do I need to do an else here? Worked first time? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, actually, let me open up the door. One sec. Yeah, it's like 5 to 10 degrees cooler right outside the door. So what's going on here? It's bouncing. So this right here, this is a really simple example. Where it hits right there. You know what I'm going to do is let's add in a breakpoint. Which line? Right here, 36. So yeah, that's where we have this collision. So delta is 1, 1. That makes sense. Right now our delta is really just the velocity. So our bounds is 329 plus 24. We're checking to see if it's if it overlaps that. The bounds.x, it does. And then so this is true. Like, and that, oh wait. Wait, sorry. It's not, it is greater than. Maybe I got this flipped around then. Did I get them flipped around? What it's saying is that the x plus the y, we're coming in from the side. Yeah, this is definitely wrong. So it shouldn't be colliding with the x. So this is wrong. I don't think you're counting for angles. Let's see. So we have, this is 29 plus 24. So that ends up being like 54, which is greater than x. So it says, oh, you're colliding with the left side. But technically not. How is that? I think it needs to say it's less than, right? The transform bounds. I think I might want to say if the original bounds is less than. Yeah, I think that makes sense. If the original bounds of this is less than the x position. I think I got that flipped around. The original bounds dot x is less than the less than. We'll say less than the bounds.x. So that means that we are, it was on the left side before we ran into this. I think that makes more sense. Yeah, I think you might be right. So then we want to say the other way, which is that the left side, before we moved it, the left side of the physics bounds, which is original bounds, is greater than the right side of the collision bounds, which is this right here. And then we need to just do the same here. Less than that. This needs to be greater than. So we kind of basically got it flipped around. Okay. Let's see if that fixes it. I think it was working better before. Let's look at this again. Okay, so we say it's 336, 24, so that goes up to 360, is less than 360. I guess I need to say it's equal to. Oh, yeah, duh. We have to say it's equal to. That's why. Because it's not going to query the cold until you are overlapping. We have to do equal if we're calling. Works on the borders? Yeah, that's because I have a special case for that down below. Yeah, now it's hitting it. Yep. Whoops. Cool. It's working. Yeah, if we weren't doing the query cold, then we could get away with not having the less than. But I think it's okay to let things touching each other, so it's probably good as it is. What if let's now go into here and change it to be 3, 3. So now they're going to be bouncing around 3 times as fast. Whee! Follow them! Create a wall! Nice. Oh, I think I just saw one cheat through. Yeah, it totally did right there. What's going on with that? Yeah, see that one? They're sneaking through. I did overlap multiple. I don't know what... That causes some issues, apparently. I'm not sure why. If it's moving really fast, won't it not include the query cold? You're right. You're right. So maybe what we should do is not include query cold. In which case, then what we need to do, if we do this, which is okay, but then that means we should have a check in here and say has intersection. We don't want the original bounds, we want the new bounds. So it's transform.bounds. And this bounds. So the new position. Right? Is that right? Is that right? Isn't that the same? Hey Putarius, what's up? I feel like that's the same thing though. But I was thinking we could just do this. Continue. If it doesn't have an intersection, then we just skip it. Has intersection is in math.cpp. Has intersection. But it's right there. How is it not finding it? Why? It must be just confused. No, has intersection identifier not found. Oh, is it in no. Oh, it is in utility. Why is it not complaining about that? Not sure. Oh, well, we don't need to worry about it too much. We can do something like this where we can create a wall. Whee! Have a little opening up at the top. I think that's enough. Oh, it already snuck out. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's definitely in a weird spot, but we don't need to worry about it too much because we're going to, this is just like playing around with the code. Maybe we should actually work on like the real physics. It definitely gets in a weird spot sometimes, but we're not going to worry about that. Yeah, like right there, it seems to be getting in a weird. That one like keeps bouncing in it. See, like right here, it like cuts into that one. I don't know why. These two are just doomed to bounce in here forever. It will help. Oh no, that one's stuck now. Oh, what? Cheater! Not sure what's up with that. See that? It's like sometimes we'll bounce into there. It's like this door doesn't exist. Maybe it's hitting corner and corner. Yeah, I was thinking maybe something like that. Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much, honestly, because this is just me playing around with the system some. It's cool, though. We have that collision stuff. You know, we can have lots of stuff going around. You know, it's actually doing... All of these are doing collision checks. Whoops. Right now. And this is in debug mode. It's doing collision checks on those. So we could do one fun thing. We can go into our game. And we can say, you know what? Let's prefab. Now puddings collide with one another too. Uh-oh. What happened there? The bounds, it seems like it went out of the world. Populate. Oh, yes. My bad. Yeah, I fixed this on the CPP, but apparently not in the header. There we go. We need to cap it. I guess what we could do is like we could say if maybe what would make the most sense here, honestly, is that if it's not within the world bounds, then maybe we just don't care. So we could say, we could calculate this. So this is the cell. UN32T. If cell is, let's say, I guess we could do greater than 0 and cell is less than cell's size, then we can push back. So that way if it's out of bounds, we calculated an invalid cell, then we just skip it, right? So this is kind of right. This actually, maybe it's not quite right. Maybe it'd be better. Yeah, let's actually not do it like that. I'm okay with having those there, but what if we just say if the left cell is less than 0, wait. Oh, hold up. Trying to think of what makes sense for this. I guess I can just do it the other way. Typically things aren't going to be out of bounds. So it probably makes sense. Whoops. Yeah, let's just actually undo all that right there. Okay, we'll leave that. For this, we want the max of UN32 type. Let's say 0 and that. And then this technically should be the min of UN32 type with the width. And then this will be the height. And so now we won't be able to go out of bounds. Oh, whoops. Dang. Still hitting the same thing? What the? Width and height. Maybe it needs to be -1. I think it needs to be -1 on the width and height. Because it's 0 indexed. Or actually, probably just not. I think that's the better thing to do, is not. That's what I did in the other places. There we go. I think they just oh, now they kind of collide sometimes. They also can not, but the collision's a little weird, but it kind of works. Yeah, there's definitely some bugs with that collision code. Like, one of the weird things with this is that whenever they collide, we're moving them and then resolving immediately, which is definitely wrong. We should... I think so. Yeah, and also only checking the collision if for the thing that's moving. So, like, they can collide in a different way. It was definitely assuming that there's only one thing, that the thing moving was not colliding. But anyways, we can still see, like, it's checking collision for all this stuff. So this is, like, a good way to see that it's working fairly well with the spatial hashing. We have, like 120, and we're still getting about... all of these are checking to see if they need to collide with one another. And that's a lot, in a single frame to try to do that. But it's handling it fairly well. And this is in debug mode too. Yeah, spatial hashing is, or spatial partitioning, I should say, is definitely useful. You can see it definitely hits some lag spikes. Dang, what's going on there? Let's see where it's spending a lot of its time. Just to see. Crash it. Yeah, it's spending 54% of its time on the query. Where it's looking to see if it intersects. And actually it spends a lot of its time adding it to the entry set, which sucks. I'm doing good, just playing around with some stuff. How about you? Yeah, it spends the majority of its time doing, we can see that here. This 33% of its time it's spent in here where it's inserting that entry. There's probably a better way to do this, and we'll look at that in the future. There must be a better way to do that. But we'll worry about it like if it's an actual problem. basically what we need to be doing there is, since an entity can span multiple cells, it might need to be added to multiple cells. And then whenever we do a query, that might include multiple cells. And we want to make sure, like, so, okay, here's something that we could do. This could actually work. I think so. This would add some complexity, but I think it would work. It would mean that we could use like a vector instead of a hash, which is when we are adding it, since we are going from top left, right? We're doing the left to the right. Yeah, since we're going left, right, and top down, that means that, so like, let's go to this, for anyone who doesn't know what spatial partitioning is, it's this way to split up objects into these like cells, so that way you can optimize checking on them, or like positional logic. So if you're checking for collision, if you put them into these cells where they are located, partition them, then whenever we do a query, we can kind of only look at entities that are close by. So let's say that we do a query in this outer pink rectangle, then that will actually include all of the stuff in the green, because we are, we expand out to anything, because we don't know where within that cell the objects are. We just know it's somewhere inside of it. And then we can like do a culling if we want, where we can check as we are inserting them. But since we are doing a top, left to right, top to down, what we can do is check the position. And this is actually a pretty nice optimization. We can check the top left, the bounds x and y, and if the bounds is not, or I guess we could say if the bounds is in that, but I guess, you'd have to do 2 checks. Which is still probably better than doing the spatial hash. But you could check to see if, what is it? It's, I'd have to think about the culling. Maybe that doesn't matter. If the cells that we are looking contain the top left corner of the entity that we are adding in, then we should, if it contains the top left corner, then we should only add that entity if it hasn't already been added. Right? That doesn't fully work. So what if we have like an entity that's like, let's say right here or something. So the top left corner is over here. So maybe then what we would want to do, so basically we need to know if we've already added the entity. So let's actually take this scenario over here, where we have a little guy right here. Now he's suddenly in 2 cells. He's in this cell as well as this one down here. So while we're going through it, how do we know that we've already added this guy? I think what we would want to do is, maybe what we would do is take the either, yeah, okay, that's what we want. We want the smallest x and y position of the intersection between our queried area, the cells, and the x position. Put the entity in both cells. Yes, we are doing that. What we're trying to do is avoid, or whenever we're doing a query, we want to get unique entities. So we're doing a query. Let's say that we have this guy right here. So we're going to be getting this guy. We'll say he's 1. We'll get this guy over here. He's 2, 2. And then this one would be 3, 4, and 5. That's an ugly 5. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how do we know that we've already added 3? Because actually we're going to be adding 3 before we add 2. We would add 3 from this top cell here. And then as we're going through, so we're going left to right, top to down. So we'd hit this cell, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and so on. So how do we know that we have already, so the first cell we encounter, we would add 1 and 3, and then we'd get back to this cell here. How do we know that we've already added 3? What we were doing is using a cell entry set that is hashed on the entity index. So basically the entity ID. So we have a unique entity entry. Is the result container able to discard duplicates on insertion? Yeah, that's what we're doing right now, is using a set. But it's expensive. And so I was just thinking, like, what could we do to possibly optimize this? And what I think we could do is only add it if the entry is within the min of the x and y for that cell. So in this case, we would encounter this 3, and we'd say, okay, well, the minimum x and y is right here up at the tops, because we can't include that over here. Switch to hash table for results container. I mean, is that going to be faster than this? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this is going to be faster. Maybe a hash table might be easier. I was actually looking at other solutions for like hash tables. I saw Google has a dense hash table, which is supposed to be really fast. But I think this is going to be the fastest possible solution. It's a little bit more complex, but it's not that bad. Because this will just do 1 check. Well, maybe 2. Basically, what we need to do is look. We need to do a. Yeah, we have to figure out if that position, this min position for the bounds, is within the cell. Add the object to all 4 cells and test for collision of items within each cell. Yeah, we're doing that. But the thing is, when we're doing a query, we want the result to be unique, right? What if you have an entity small enough to be within the min x and y of all cells? Well, you can always, as long as an entity is more than 2 width or height, it can overlap multiple cells, right? Typically, you'll always have just 4. The only way that you would ever have an entity overlapping more than 4 cells is if that entity is larger than the cell. In which case you probably have a problem and you should really change the size of your cells. Probably. Not necessarily. It depends on how many other entities. Like, if it's a very unique case, then it's probably okay. If that's the common scenario, then your cells are way too small. But yeah, I was just thinking what we would be able to do is if we check that position, so it'd be the min for the entire bounds. Basically, you're trying to make sure that a case of result 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5 is cleaned up to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's right. And we saw in this profile that it's not that I closed it. The insertion was by far the most expensive thing. So we want to get the min for the entire thing here. So your hash table is your cleanest, fastest approach. Well, we can see, so we're using an unordered set here. Let's actually just try this. So I was doing some research yesterday. There's Google dense hash. Sparse hash. No. Is that it? Okay, maybe that is it. Is that it? Could you store the entities found in a binary tree based on their IDs? Dense. Why can't I find the actual code? Is this it? It didn't look like this was right. I guess it is. Doesn't look right. Sparse. I want a dense. Maybe I don't really want to do that. I don't know. Let me play around with this one idea. Am I culling still? No. So what I was thinking is that we can get the position of the entity well, I already have all the entities within a region right here. And we're resolving collision while, or I guess I'm confused about the collision. Collision for the result whenever we do the insertion, because we're using a set. So I was thinking we could resolve it outside of it. I don't know if it's faster. I think it might be. I'm just thinking about what this would be. What is this? So this is the entry bounds. We need to calculate so this is the bounds for the entire thing. We actually need to calculate the outer bounds. That's right. That's one thing we need to do. We get the left cell, the right cell. So we need to calculate the queried bounds, which is going to be larger. We expand it out. So we're past then. If we go back to this is our query bounds. And what we want is to get the green, which is, sorry, this is the bounds that we pass in. And this is the queried bounds, or like that. Maybe let's change that. Let's call it cell bounds. Cell bounds. And so that's going to be the left cell times the size of the cells. And this is going to be the top cell. Top cell times the size, and we also need the width and height, which is right cell minus left cell times the size, and then it's the bottom cell minus the top cell times the size. So that's our cell bounds. And so what we want to do is get the minimum value between, or for this, the cell bounds to x, right? I guess we don't even necessarily need the width and height, huh? We might not need to even like get that. We could just say cell position, or like top left. Is your spatial hash just a dense grid? It's the unordered map. I don't know exactly what that is. STD unordered set. This is what we are using right now. I know that the standard hash map and everything is really slow, and there's probably better there are better solutions out there. So I was looking at possible solutions. I haven't decided what we're going to use yet. I've never written my own, and I don't really know exactly what are like the qualifications to make a good one. So that's something I'm like looking into. But it probably makes sense to just use an existing solution rather than writing our own. I was trying to find one that's particularly good for games, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. If we can get just like some better general ones, that might be sufficient, and then we can worry about stuff later. So for this, what I was thinking, we can get the position X and Y, and then what we want to do is to say, I guess right now I can say point and rect. Wait. Oh, maybe we don't want that. All we care about, actually, we don't even care if it's exactly within the rectangle. All we care is that the position.x is going to be greater than, oh wait, no. Less than or equal to the left cell. Oh, sorry, x is the current cell that we're looking at, times the size, right? So if we're iterating through these, we just want to make sure that the x is in here. And I think position.y is less than or equal to y times size. So the reason we need to do this, and this kind of sucks, like if we could get rid of this, that would be so much better. So if we can do that, then that's when we want to insert it, right? And so then we could change this. Let's go here. Let's just change that specific one to a list and do a pushback. So what this is saying is basically only add the entry if the top leftmost position of that entity within the entire bounds is in the cell that we are currently considering. So if we have like another entity that's, let's say, right here, then it would, look at this position, the top left. If we have another entity over here, then it would only look at this position over here. And so it would only be in 2-1. And it would find the entity in 3-1, but it would say, hey, the top leftmost position is not within this cell, so don't add it. We actually don't even care if it's in the cell. We only care if it's less than or equal to the position. Right? Oh, wait. I think I got this wrong. Position is less than or equal to the size. We want to add it. Maybe I should do it the other way. This technically should be +1, right? because we want to be looking at this position. We want to say if we only want to add it if the entity's position right here is less than this position down here, which is the cells. We want to say the cell bottom right corner. So I guess it should actually be more like this. Well, we could say, I guess you could do it either way. Add +1 to it. For the size. Is there a better way to do that? I guess the other way you could flip it. Hey, Josh Mike, what's up? Then you wouldn't need it, right? If you say don't add it if it's greater than either of those, that's another way to do it. The other way to write this would be if the position is greater than the x times the size, or the position dot y is greater than y times the size. Then continue. Kind of liked that more. I think it's a little cleaner to read. I think I got that flipped around, huh? If the position dot x is greater than... No, it should be less than, right? Maybe I got the other way wrong then. This should be less than. So if this x position right here is less than the size, it'd be right here, right? That's wrong. Okay, that actually seems wrong. No, that's right, because we'd be checking here. For this cell, 2, 1, we would check this corner, and this is greater in both cases. So we want it, because position.x is greater than both of those, yeah. Whereas in this case, it's greater than the y position, but it's less than the x position. It's going good, going good. Just seeing if I can optimize this spatial hash query. I think that makes sense. I don't know if this is faster, but we can try. Let's see. So I think that's right. I could see there definitely being room for improvement right here. We actually don't even need to. Let's actually... Okay, well, it failed. We don't really need to do that. Let's just say this is a UN32. And we'll say this is entry X. What was the error that it had? So we don't use the X and Y for this. So maybe we'll just say this is an int. Top. Thinking maybe we'll do it like this. bounds. Yeah, still not crazy about this min here. See how it does. Unfortunately, I need to click a lot here. Whee! Lots of clicking. Click, 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 click. Click, 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 click. So we actually have a unit test to test the uniqueness. But hey, look at this. We have like triple frames. Or more. It's so much better. We haven't looked to see if we have uniqueness, so maybe there's like a bug in this. We can test that. But yeah, we have way better FPS. I feel like this would be a perfect use case for an auto clicker. Alright guys, let's change this game. Auto clicker time. So we can profile it, see where it's spending its time. Yeah, we can actually see it's spending most of its time with rendering. Are you using some engine framework library to make this game? Yes, we are using SDL, BGFX, and so on. We can check out this page here. See all that. So we're making a custom game engine in C++ using those libs. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to ask. So yeah, we can see that it's doing much better. My head is covering this. Let me pull that out. There we go. Much, much better. So let's make sure that we have unique. We're actually not, for sure testing this. So let's try it out. So this is cool that we're actually going to start new instance. Let's see if we pass all tests. I hope so. Oh, dang it. Rip. Oh no. Okay, we have to fix this. It did not catch all of these cases. Yeah, we don't really care about that stuff too much, but I do need to. Okay, I have to put something here. Okay, nope, still got more. Still missing a bunch. I guess I should just look for a position. Maybe that's what I'll do. Let's just say find and replace, and the current file, current document, position, replace it with bounds. Replace all. Okay. Okay, cool. So that should fix that. Oh, whoops. No. I want to run this. So we have a test, and we'll look at it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I broke it. So maybe this isn't working right. I feel like it should be right. Oh, wait. I know what the problem is. We do have a bug here. This needs to be equal to, right? It's greater than the entry x times the size. So let's say that the cell is entry x. No, that feels like it should be right. Okay, what we'll do is we'll set a breakpoint here. Oh no. Okay, hold up. Let me set this as the default program. So this should be, yeah, 0, 0. So x is 0. So it adds that first entry. Right. Makes sense. Oh, I did change. Oh, wait. The size should be 32 by 32 cells. The first one only has 1, but we're adding them bounds. The 16, 16. Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking was happening. Is that over... It must be in here I broke it. Is that... I think that whenever we populate it... Let me restart it. I think we're not populating... 0, 0 is not being added in, which is what's wrong. So the left cell is less than the right cell. I see. So... I guess I should have added that, like, so that's what broke it. Am I adding +1 over in here? No. I think what I need to do is add 1 to this right here. That's my problem. Is in here, so this outer one needs +1. So that's a problem. Because we want to add 1 to it, but we still want to... Oh wait, is that going to work right? Yes, because we should never... Width and height... This should never hit width and height. Unless it's outside of the bounds of the world. Okay, so this should fix it, hopefully. So we can look at our cells. Now we have 2. Okay, good. Let's look at that. We're still failing. What? It's failing in multiple places. Wow, it's just broken. Ah. Okay, well, this is what unit tests are for, right? Looks like we got some problems here. Quick question. When you're using spatial hash, do entities that aren't being drawn still get updated? Depends on the spatial hash and rendering are not necessarily associated. Unless the tests are broken. I tested the tests yesterday. I think they're right. Oh, this is wrong. Thank you. This is wrong. This should be top cell, not left cell. Maybe that's our bug. Thank you, TBD. Did that answer your question, Jacomus? They're probably all broken for the same reason. But did you test the test you used to test the test? Well, the test to test the test was me. And I will be honest, I was writing some pretty bad code yesterday. I was not on top of my game at all. Super off. So let's dive into this, I guess. Let's run that once more. I thought you were doing the spatial hash for rendering. Right now we're not, but we will be. Like, one of the nice things about the spatial hash is that we will if we're using it for other stuff. The only time spatial hashing is useful is if you need to partition it, so you populate it and then you do multiple queries. If you're only doing a single query on the entities, then it's not really useful. You might as well just go through all the entities. So hopefully we will do like probably some generic, spatial partitioning where we're like, here are all of the entities in their own buckets just with the transform component. Just pure entities that, or maybe we do like transform and render or something like that. Maybe we could even just do transform because the majority of the entities are going to have render. So we can just, use that and then make sure that they have the render whenever we want to render them. Whenever we do the query for it inside of rendering. So we might do something like do a generic spatial hash for all entities that are being rendered and that have a render component, I should say. And we could use that for like a bunch of things like checking for interaction with entities with like your mouse, where if you're hovering over something, then it will, it could use that query. And then also we could use it for querying the bounds of your viewport so we know what needs to be rendered. But if we were like only doing the rendering, then doing a spatial, like partitioning that stuff is kind of useless because we're having to go through everything, sort into buckets. We'd actually be wasting energy at that point. But like for collision detection, we're doing tons of queries because we partition them, and then every single entity that's moving needs to check for collision. Okay, so let's oh wait, did that run? So the first one it hit is this 317. So let's do that. Can do query with culling. It says that there should be one, but there are none. 316. So it gets to here. Is there a way for me to like hover over this and just say step into that function from here? Step into specific. Ah, nice. Spatial hash query cold. That is what I wanted. I don't care to be doing that. Okay, cool. So let's see what's going on here. So our query is 252511. So we should be getting 1 here. So we can look at our I mean, really this hasn't changed, so I don't know what happened here. So let's see, top and right cell. Right, so this is exactly, we should see 2. So if there's, yeah, that's our bounds. Intersection is 0, 0, 0, 0. Oh, maybe that's why, is that our bounds is, our entry bounds is 0, 0. Why is it 0, 0? Okay, that's probably what's the problem. Oh, I see. So up here, when we set up the, right, I need to make sure that in here, the transform bounds, oh, whoops. That needs to be 2424. Okay, figured out what was wrong with that. Maybe that's the problem. The tests were wrong here. Because I changed the bounds incorrectly. Oh, we're also doing that. Oh, that's probably the problem. Pause break. We're setting the bounds right there, so we need to actually fix that. When we create all those entities. And another place. Yeah, that's one thing I kind of don't like about doing this with the bounds, the position and bounds being tied together. I don't know if I like that, because then we always have to, like, I can't just change the x and y. I would have to do like bounds.x, bounds.y. Okay, so let's just run them all. And so that fixed some of the problems. The query cold is fixed. Now we can look at these. Straddling 21. Yeah, that's where it kind of makes sense that it would be broken. Step into spatial hash query. I like that. That's nice. Okay, so our bounds is 25, 25, and it goes to 8, 8. So that means we should be including 4. So let's see here. This is... So it should include that. It does. So that's the first one. Good. And then this one is 16, 16, 24, 24. So it should definitely include that one as well. It does. And then that should be it. Then we go to the next. That's good. And then for this, it's 0, 0, 24, 24. Wait, which? Y is 1. So we move down. Wait, why are we including this one as well? Is this being populated right? This is not right. It should not be including this one. Should not be including that one. I'm having jam fatigue. How did Ludum Dare go for you? Yeah, Arstad. You weren't too far off. One sec. Okay, so I think, and I guess I should maybe write a test for this or something. I'm not sure how I would, but there's something wrong with our populate function. This is wrong. This is wrong. So I'm going to set a breakpoint in here and restart. We're populating wrong. The height and width. Right cell. Divided by size. So how is that being 2? 24 divided by 32 is the minimum value between... Oh, we're doing a ceiling. Oh, I'm already adding 1. Oh, that's a fail. Okay. I should have realized that. We're already doing the ceiling of it. So we're rounding up. So actually that should be fine. Does that fix the issues? Theme is life is currency. Yeah, we were talking about it just a little bit earlier. Taking a break. I guess we'll just step into this one since we're here. We'll see what the cells look like. 2, 1. Okay, that's better. So we should add both of these. And then we should pop out and then enter in. And this one will already be in there. The 16, 24, 24. So if we look at this in our results, we'll see that it has the 16, well, I guess the better ways. Index is 1 for the entity ID. And if we look over here, this entry is index 1. So this should fail. Yes, because y is 1 times that. So it fails. Okay, so that properly did not add it. That's good. So now we're on this other one. Oh, that's the same one. Okay, we're at... Yes. So again, but this time it's looking on the bottom, and it should fail again. Okay, it looks like this might be actually working. Might be, but it's not. Dang. It's expecting 4. Looks like I have some trial thing going on. Doing a wave horde game where power up takes health on pickup. Interesting. Wave horde game. That's cool. I have never actually done a Ludum Dare. Do you want to sell your game? I take it you're talking to me, I'm assuming. Yes, eventually. Not quite there yet. Okay, so let's think about this. Because we should have something at 32, right? Let me step into this once more. Okay, let's actually just look at the cells. Where is it this? There's our 32. I feel like it should have another one here, but it doesn't. Right? Because this is... Oh wait, no, I see. 32, 32. Right. Okay, that does make sense. Okay, let's step through this. I think, so what we want to find is where X and Y are both 1. Which would be the last one. I guess what we could do is add a breakpoint here, condition, say X is equal to 1 and Y is equal to 1. And then run it. There we go. That works. So let's look at all the entries for this. So that would be, yeah, so we have 16, 16, 24, 24. So we've already added that one in, right? 16, 16. Let's look at the entry. So that is 0, that's index 1. And we already have index 1 in here. So we'll skip it. Now we're at 32. So now we're at index 2, which is 32, 32. Oh my gosh. I found the bug. So this needs to be max. I always make that mistake. Whoa. It's such a common mistake to make. Get the min and max flipped around. All tests passed. Awesome. Okay, so that fixed it. Yay. So cool. That's how we can do it. It seems to be a lot faster than doing a hash map because all we're doing is so technically I think that this is kind of a jump, right? The max. It does a ternary, right? I think so. Or something along those lines. Do you want to put your game on our game platform? I mean, it's not ready yet. And thanks, but yeah, right now, like, yeah, it's not ready. I'm not even thinking about platforms yet. What is your game platform? Little Dare is fun when you're actively doing game dev. I took 3 months off from doing little games. Now I'm super tired after a day of working. Oh no. Yeah. You got weak. Okay, so this is a nice optimization, I think, over doing that. Especially if we're adding in potentially a lot. When it is ready, Utomic. Cool. Ah, okay. It's a subscription to get games like Discord, Turbo. Nice. Okay, so we want to do something like this for these other ones as well. The query cold is interesting because can actually get rid of this. Oh, which means that we can get rid of all that. That's actually pretty nice that we can like remove all that extra complexity. I'm glad I committed everything. So this would be pushback. So it has intersection. So what would make more sense? To do the check before or after this has intersection? Probably after, right? Because collisions are likely to not be all that common, I think. So it'd just be pretty much this in here. But we need to then calculate the query. Man, I feel like there's a lot of similar code between these, huh? Like, the only difference is that it has this check right here. But I just don't feel like I can justify adding in that. I want this code to be like performant, and so I don't really want to like do some weird thing like passing in a lambda check or something like that. It's only in 3 places. Okay, cool. So let's run our test again, make sure it's all working still. And then we'll also go back to the game and make sure that we have like 100 and something entities and see what the performance looks like. Hey, all test passing. Yay! So that's cool. Definitely seeing the power of unit tests in that case. Like, we just unit tested and we're able to figure out, like, hey, there's a bug in this code. What's wrong? Oh, I used min instead of max. That's like, so, there has to be some, like, law on that. Like, that you, whatever you think it is, if you're doing like the minimum on a value or the maximum of a value, it's always the opposite of what you think it is. Whoops. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Just create. Oh, I keep clicking out of the window. I guess I really don't even have to move it, right? I'll just leave it in the same place. Cool. Nice. Looks good. Beautiful. It's pretty cool. Alright, let's break. That's a good optimization. I like that. Yeah, it's, you can see that hash is not even close to where it was before. You can see that we're doing a lot of time in our physics. 17% there, 13% there. It's understandable. Man, I love this. Having ship it, right? I love being able to profile the code like this. Amazing. It's so good. For Korea, it's just a nightmare to try to profile it. Yeah, so we can like jump into this and see we're actually spending a lot of our time doing this forward as tuple, and maybe we could come up with a better solution. I'm not sure. It might not be so bad in release mode. I'm not sure about that either, but still, like, it's still doing pretty good overall. You can see down here our spatial hash, or what was it? I guess it's of course not going to even show up. Let's go to spatial hash query. So before, you remember when we would push back, it was taking up a massive percentage. Oh, we're still actually consuming quite a bit. I wonder if there's a better way to do that. Yeah, it still spends a lot of time pushing back here. So that would be one nice thing about doing like a query cold. So let's look at this. Here's one like optimization we can make. So if we go over here to, I think it's a good optimization. Our physics. So we're doing a query right here. You could say query cold, and we have our transform bounds right here. What if instead we said, okay, this is a rect of the bounds.x -1 bounds.y -1 bounds.width +2 bounds.height +2. So we just grow it all by 1. And then that should fix it. And now we're doing a query cold. And so it's actually going to cull it. So we don't have to check this intersection here. We can do it before we do the insertion. which is nice. At the very least commit it, yeah. I will. Ooh-wee. Go, my pretties! Ah, click! 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 Nice. I should have counted exactly what it was before, so I could see what the frame rate was. But we can break here. It probably is a little hard to tell. Actually, you can see it's much better. Look at that. That's a good improvement. Yeah, I mean, we can undo it if we want. Here, we'll do that. Let's I mean, this isn't like super accurate, but what we'll do is we have to make sure that we're not profiling, so we have to turn that off. Okay, so we'll get exactly 100. Whoa. There we go. So it's floating around 240, 263, 233, 244, 259, 252. So it's between 230 to 260. I'd say averaging about 245. And now, what we'll do is I'm actually going to first stage all of this. Oops. So that way, whenever I make this change, it's super easy to undo. We'll now go over to here. We need to change this back to what we had before, which is query transform bounds. That's right. And then go over to the spatial hash. And that was it, right? Yeah, that was it. That's right. It's just that one file. Now we'll do 100. I like how it continues the square. It seems pretty similar, but it's definitely worse. Like, it makes not that big of a difference. Not as big as I was kind of expecting. So it went from like, so the old way, this way, is probably on average like 215, right? I would say about 215. And then the other way was like 245. So maybe it's like a 10% difference. Something like that. 245 to 215 or vice versa. But yeah, that's cool. And the reason for that is just because then we're not doing that pushback. There's probably a better way to do this. Like, one thing we could do is resize this, because what we're doing is whenever we're pushing back the results, we're like adding on a bunch of stuff. So like maybe it would make sense to resize it to some like default size. Like maybe whenever we populate it, we could get the average size of each cell, or like what's in each cell. And actually that would probably make sense. Like we could figure out like what's the typical size of every cell, like how many entities are within a cell, and then we can just multiply. We can size the result to be the number of cells we're going to have times the average cell size, and so that way I'll be right there. Come to eat dinner. Okay. Thank you. So we could size the result properly, so that way whenever we're populating it, it would be a lot faster. That would actually be probably a pretty good improvement as well. Culling it will make a difference. Like, yeah, there's probably some other things we could do to optimize this. But I need to call it a day for now. By the way, welcome, lonely player. Sorry you're coming in at the end of the stream, but good news, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, where we will be picking this up. What I think I'll actually do is start working on a real physics system, real physics stuff. So we'll be doing that, like actual physics with gravity and all of that fun stuff. So I need to do a little bit of research on that. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday evening, and yeah, I'll see you around. Take care.